You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we're close to the season finale of Ernestly Speaking Season 1. And I'm excited. This is episode 49, not to be confused with the 49th episode of the entire show, because we've had many bonus episodes within itself. But this is the 49th episode of season 1. Next week will be the season finale, and then I'll be taking a 2-week break, coming back at the end of the first week of January for the season 2 premiere, which I'm hoping that I will start making the seasons become 25 episodes versus this big chunk of 50. But when you're doing this for the first time, you're recognized. So my goal would be to have 2 seasons a year, kind of like America's Next Top Model used to be, remember? Or like soap operas where they just continue, but they kind of break it up and there was like a summer break. I probably won't have a crazy summer break kind of thing, but it'll just be, something. But, or some shows, how they have like the winter break and then the second half of the first season of the season comes back, something like that. But I think given how many episodes and how weekly I do this, it makes sense to break this up in seasons. It reminds me actually of like my shows on VH1, like Love and Hip Hop. Like they'll have a season of the show, they'll do the first part of the year and it'll come back, or they skip a year or something. But given what kind of show that we do here, it's episodic. So, it's a routine. And I'm just so proud of myself and proud of the listeners because, this is, doing independent media, content, that doesn't have a connection to a company or doing it in a way that's unpaid. It's sometimes, you'll treat like it's a hobby, but this is something that has definitely been something I just look forward to doing every week, and it never gets old because there's always new news and it's become second nature. Like when I go out and I bump into people who every week that I do this podcast, I'm always shocked by the people who tell me they listen to it because it's never who I think listens to it. I mean, there's people I know who listens to it religiously, and that's awesome. But then there's also people that I'm like, wait, you listen to this? And I mean, the charts, right? The data doesn't lie. Like, it climbs with the charts. There's so many listeners in people that download and listen through different streaming platforms, Spotify, and of course Apple and others. So it's clearly there is an audience, but it's just always exciting to just see the different faces and people from different backgrounds who find something about it that they connect to and listen to every week. And so that's always just a pleasure. So I will always say thank you, especially during this holiday season with so much going on. Thank you. I appreciate you. You matter to me if you're not feeling like you matter to someone else. And I'm excited to share these experiences and talk to you on various different ways. One of the coolest things that happened this week, which is kind of petty, and I think some of y'all heard through Instagram, my Instagram story, which some of y'all have gotten hip to this. And I tell people that I use my social media platforms very differently. Like Facebook is very different from Twitter. Twitter is very different from Instagram. Instagram is very different from Instagram stories. Like the grid is different, but the stories are different. There are people who just like to watch my Instagram stories because there's tea and things I say in the stories that I don't post on the grid, because on the grid, it's a little bit more permanent. And also it's I like stories because there's moments where I'm just choosing to be petty or silly or a little bit more up close and personal in ways that I don't want this to stay on forever. I don't need people, I don't want to, but like my grid, those are things I want to keep on forever, like, or keep on for people to go back and read 3 months later, whether it's a message or a long post or, something places I've gone out to eat, things like that. But Instagram story, it's like things that, like I'm singing, right? Like the Tevin Campbell challenge is happening, and I love Tevin Campbell. I'm a big fan. He's one of my favorite gay artists. A lot of people are like, "Oh, we haven't had a major black gay artist." I mean, first of all, we did. I mean, yes, Lil Nas X is great right now, and I love Lil Nas X as well. But Tevin Campbell, I mean, he wasn't out when he was out, but he came out years and years later. But I mean, the girls knew. Let's just say the girls knew. And I spell girls Gurls. The girls knew, right? We knew. And Tevin wasn't hiding it because Tevin wasn't really like dating women, but it was like an industry, I guess, secret or open secret at the time. But he was so young. He was like 15 or whatever, 16 when his first album dropped. And then he dropped his second album called I'm Ready, which, let's be clear, I was born in 1981, so I wasn't like out when his music came out. But I'm such a fan of him. It's kind of like my interest in Madonna. Like, I mean, a lot of Madonna's like greatest hits came out before I was born or when I was too little to like, like really live in the moment. And as I get older and I see the decline of certain music artists, I am starting to feel that age. Like Jamarcus and I talk about this all the time, like how, I'm not saying music sucks now, but the cohesive. I'm starting to be one of those people where I'm just like, I don't know what I don't know what my generation. I don't know. Well, not my generation, but I don't know what these other, like my brother. I have a brother who's 18. The 11-year-old child, bless his heart. I don't know what's going to be out when he gets to that age of really getting into music. But the 18-year-old, I'm just looking at him like, I feel so bad for you. You've been deprived of good artistry. You will never be able to see a music video with really good choreography and musical talent that lasts. Like, you are alive to know that Janet Jackson exists and that, Beyonce, exists, that that people like Celine Dion exist, and you probably don't even know who Barbara Streisand is outside of that random techno song that said Barbara Streisand weirdly. But again, like, I'm thinking about just how bad the artists are now. Like, no shade, but like everyone's like the album right now that everyone's saying is like the best album of the year is Olivia Rodrigo's Sour album. And listen, no shade to Olivia. She's talented. It's cute. But if that album came out in like 10 years ago, it would be, it would have been a popular indie album somewhere, but it would never get the level of critical acclaim it's getting. It's just that the music and the albums that came out this year suck so bad that something that is decent is now great. Yes, I said it. I mean, granted, it's so bad that like some of the only albums I like listening to this year were remakes. Like, I enjoyed Red, Taylor's edition, more than a lot of the albums that came out this year. But that album came out originally in 2012, and the 10-year anniversary is next year. Okay, but like that, granted, I like the Billie Eilish album, Happier Than Ever. That was good. Montero, listen, I have pledged not to. I'm just happy that he, as an artist, is out there. Albums, let's just say this. A lot of artists are being pushed out of creating albums. They're now becoming singles artists because that's what people are gravitating to. And you know how I know this is because, there was a time where in the Grammys, Album of the Year was considered like the highest honor. And so Album of the Year would be like the last award of the night. It would be the like top of the top tier. And now the biggest honor now at the Grammys is Record of the Year, which for people who don't understand the distinction, let me just say it real quickly. Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Album of the Year. Album of the Year is for your entire body of work for a particular project. Not your entire career, that's lifetime achievement, but your entire body of work that you put out in a project. So like just basically an album. So like Montero is an album, not just the song. It's the album. Or Sour, right? Like Olivia Rodrigo's album has like 12 songs on it, or 10 songs, whatever. That's an album. That's album year. I have to explain this to people because, this generation, some of these folks listening, some of these Gen Zers may not even understand what an album is anymore. Like, I get it, okay? But that's like an album. So album year back in the day, oh goodness, I'm aging myself. But back in the day, that used to be like the standalone solid thing. Now we have, that still exists, but people just don't do them as good anymore. It's really rare that you can find a cohesive album. A good example of a good cohesive album is Lemonade by Beyonce. Like, that's a cohesive album that is thematic. Or Damn by Kendrick Lamar. That's like a cohesive album that's thematic. It's the songs are all in a flow. They don't all sound the same, but they come from the same family. Confessions on a Dance Floor by Madonna. That's an album. That's a vibe. That's a flavor. Folklore by Taylor Swift. It's an album. It's cohesive. It's thematic. It goes together. I'm trying to think of other great examples, but I think you get the drift. I hope that Thriller by Michael Jackson. That's an album. Okay, nothing but hits. Cohesion. Okay, that's an album. That's what an album sounds like. The Emancipation of Mimi by Mariah Carey. That's an album. That's a mood. Surfacing by Sarah McLachlan. Okay, that's my Sarah McLachlan bias coming out, but I just want you to understand what I mean by cohesion. So that's what it looks like. That's what it sounds like. Albums that are not cohesive. Anything by Drake that isn't Take Care. Whatever the hell, I don't even say his name anymore. Who else had an album that wasn't cohesive? I'm gonna say that. No, I ain't gonna throw her. I ain't gonna throw shit. She's gotten through a lot. Let me think of someone else who just see people gonna get their feelings. No, I ain't trying to hurt nobody's feelings. Okay, I'll give you another positive album that makes sense. That was a cohesive album. Melodrama by Lorde. That's a cohesive album. So albums that were not cohesive, that should not be considered an album, that I guess people know about. Just not a good album. See, there's some people I want to name, but they're going through some things, and I don't want to kick a dead horse. I'm trying to think. I mean, it's there's so many albums out right now, or have been out, that either has been forgettable or just not good. Okay, so a lot of your favorite rappers, like DaBaby, or these artists are not making cohesive albums. There's no cohesion, and that's not even me not liking him as a person. It's just not a cohesive album. Whatever the hell some of these other pop stars are putting out, like Justin Bieber. Not this last album, but the one before that wasn't a cohesive album. That was just a bunch of random songs and just moods that just didn't really stick. Albums that do not lack cohesion are albums that are just pretty much a bunch of random songs that are put together. Some people allegedly will say that Rihanna, who, I love Rihanna, but there have been albums that Rihanna has put out that don't really have cohesion. Now, that's not unapologetic, because I like unapologetic. And that's definitely not anti. Anti is a good example of a cohesive album. But there are maybe albums like Talk That Talk, where, let's be clear, the songs are not bad, but when you're talking about a cohesive album, it is not. So I think of that. It's just, that's not her field. Like, Rihanna makes hits. Albums that, while they might sell, and they do sell, I don't necessarily know if it's cohesive in the way that, we, listen to music. It's just a bunch of greatest hits because she produces bangers, but the cohesion of them together kind of be like, well, what were you trying to do here? Like, you got a song that's really, really pop and techno, but you got this rant. Like, there's got to be some type of linkage, and a lot of those songs don't have linkage. Another artist who don't really know how to make a cohesive album is Chris Brown. Not that I'm thinking of them at the same time. I'm just thinking of somebody who just puts out a bunch of shit. And it's just be like, what were you doing here? You're just putting out stuff just to put out stuff. But very popular, right? Like, let's be clear. An artist can be successful in the industry without having a cohesive album. Most of your favorite artists, a lot of artists out now, actually in this current era of music, are not really putting out cohesive albums. I mean, Ariana Grande, she sometimes goes back and forth on when she wants to put out a cohesive album. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it don't. Love Britney Spears, always gonna love Britney, but Britney was never the best at putting out together a cohesive album. I'm a stan of Blackout. I appreciate Blackout. Blackout was a cohesive album, but some of the albums Britney has put out, the songs are just all over the place. There's no real flow. But love her as an artist, though. She puts out hits. So that's the thing. It's a thing. So anyway, back to album of the year and these things. So song of the year is about the lyrics and the songwriting. The person who writes the song wins, not the person who sings the song. Record of the year is a single, which can also be nominated for song of the year if it's worth it, where the lyrics, the sound production, the artist, and everything combined makes the song great. And song of the year is based on lyrics. And sometimes the lyric and the entire production can be great. So here's some examples of people who've won both or who've not won both. Billie Eilish a couple years ago won Record of the Year and Song of the Year for Bad Guy which was like off her first album. Great song, beautiful song. The lyrics were cool and catchy, and the actual record overall was great. The production, the sound, Phineas did his thing, which is her brother. Like, that was an example of winning both, right? But then there are times where Record of the Year wins and then Song of the Year wins, right? So, for example, examples of that was like, again, last year. Song of the Year went to her for a song that she wrote that was inspired by Black Lives Matter. The song didn't win Record of the Year, but it won Song of the Year because the lyrics were so deep and profound. What won Record of the Year was Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish. So in that situation, the voters, the critics, whatever, the industry really loved the entire package of Everything I Wanted, but they felt like, Song of the Year, the better songwriting went to another song because of the deeper message there. So it changes. So it means different things. I mean, there are people like Childish Gambino, which is also named Donald Glover, who had This Is America, which won both. So yeah, it varies depending. But often, there are times, not often, but I would say a good number of times, Song of the Year and Record of the Year wins. Because sometimes the song is just so good or the record was just so popping that you like both. But Bruno Mars had an interesting situation where two of his songs won, but different songs won in the same year. So 24 Karat Magic won Record of the Year, and then Song of the Year went to That's How I Like It. And that was just weird to me. But I guess the same artist, but he won in different categories. And then he also won Album of the Year. That guy. That was that era when he just gave you all another high quality wedding singer energy. Guy can sing, can't take it from him, but he's just so innocuous. Like John Legend. Even though I love me some John Legend couple of songs. But like as an artist, some of these guys be super, super safe. And it's just like, So I say all to say that the music we listen to now is very different. The energy is very different. I see people doing year-end lists. Obama has year-end lists of his favorite songs. He haven't put out his favorite albums, but pretty much put out his favorite songs, which included Montero, Call Me By Your Name by Lil Nas X, but also he liked Rumors by Lizzo featuring Cardi B, which was interesting, but no love for Olivia Rodrigo. Even though people would have thought he would have put her because, Driver's License was a big song and Good For You and all that. But he didn't have her on the list, which was not shocking because I can see Obama not listening to that. But I'm also shocked that Obama's listening to Cardi B. But, Liz, am I? It makes sense for him, I suppose. Appreciate him putting Lil Nas X on there. That was cool. I was like, really? You're listening to that, Obama? Oh, we've made it, man. We've made it. So, it's been a year. And my thoughts about music is forever changing in different ways. But I'm just going to be listening to Evermore. I'm just going to be listening to Taylor and, other folks. I've become such a snob. I like what I like and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm sorry. It's just there's not that much good listening to. What was I trying to listen to the other night? Casey Musgrave's newest album. I just love Golden Hour. I know that it was inspired by her previous marriage, and the new album Star-Crossed is based off of divorce. But I just love Golden Hour. It just takes me up there. But anyway, I'm grateful for this podcast. It's cracked into the top 100, which is awesome. It's been doing that lately. You all have been pushing the needle. So I'm happy about that. The good quality audio over here. I guess in other life updates, before I get into the tea, I was on the City and State Philly Power 100 list, which, I don't ever get on lists like that. I came in at number 70, which is dope. Because it's like the list of everyone from Philly that they view as powerful. These lists are subjective. I am flattered by it. Like, thank you. What was cool about this list of the top 100 folks is that I was the youngest person on there at age 30. So that was, to me, cool, because I've been noticing a pattern. Nobody wants to put me on their under 40, or under 30 list. The only one I've ever been on that was under 30 was Forbes a couple of years ago, of course. But I don't ever get on any of the under 40 lists or anything like that. And it's funny because when I'm on these lists, I'm on the grown folks, the big kids table list, which I like. I like to be at the grown folks table. City and State did a 40 under 40 list a couple of weeks ago. And I wasn't looking forward to be on it. I wasn't, I barely read that publication, but I guess I'll be checking it out more now, huh? But I didn't even know that I saw that there are people that I knew that was on that list. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. The next thing I know, I find myself on this list a couple weeks later. I'm looking like, well, if I can make it on this list as the only person, like the youngest person on this list, you would think like, but listen, who knows? I ain't complaining. I was grateful for it. It was cool. It was nice. It was a bunch of people that you don't like come and kiss your ass that day. It's always fun when those things happen. So shout out to City and State PA for that. Had my holiday party through the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. Had our annual holiday party. It was super dope. Loved it down. A lot of people came out. It was fun, festive. It was a great event. PABJ collaborated. We were in a great partnership with Visit Philadelphia, who has been doing their thing. And they put together an awesome holiday party at the African American Museum. All of our members came through. It was beautiful. The catering's by my lovely lady, Miss Dawn, who I can't get enough of. Details about Miss Dawn, best Black caterer, best freaking personal caterer. She's my personal caterer. She will tell anybody that. She's been catering for me, well, really for both Mr. Johnson. Before Mr. Johnson, doing stuff with him, before I fell in love with her. And then during the pandemic, I stopped really cooking like that. And she did Easter, and that just swept me away. Then I was like, look, I got to have her again. And this isn't during the pandemic in 2020. So it was like Easter she did Thanksgiving, she did Christmas, she did New Year's. And then this year she kept it going. She even did our wedding shower in the summer, and then she did Thanksgiving. She's doing Christmas again. She's doing New Year's. We're just going to have Miss Dawn, for everything. Like, I am at a point where, I found that person. Because, see, I'm one, like, if I'm ever going back home, which I plan to go back home for the holidays next year. I just was like family. I think the word family fatigue is extreme, but like, how you like see your family so much and you're just like, okay, or you just be around so many people, you're just like, I need to just be with a small number for a holiday. I just need it. Because sometimes you're around, and like everyone loves family, and I love family too. But like, I'm the type of person where, because I'm the oldest, I'm always like on the go, like in a way that I can't help myself. Even if it's not family pressure you do that, you just know how it is, y'all. If you ask somebody, if you are with folk, you're gonna always want to make sure everybody's straight. Like, reservations gotta be right. I can't do last minute. It's just, so I'm always finding myself being like, next to my mom to a certain degree, but I always find myself being the person that's trying to get everybody together, because folks just don't be sure. People just, the CPT, but anywho, I just said I need to just I want to do small gatherings for the holidays. And with everything going on right now anyway, it was a smart idea to do that. So I'm doing it for that for Christmas. I did it for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was cool. Christmas and New Year's, keeping it cute, keeping it light, keeping it tight. With a couple of small friends, and we're just gonna do friendsmas, I guess, and then of course a friendly New Year. So that's the plan. But Miss Dawn is just incredible, and she's catering for us again. The holiday party was awesome. We had cocktails. It was fabulous. Everybody was in the spirit. It was a good time. So I loved it. Also went to a great holiday party for my beautiful campus, and I'm going to be teaching at in January. Cheney University, the nation's first HBCU. I am going to be teaching writing and print media, which is a foundational course for freshmen that's interested in majoring in the communications, media studies, journalism program in the humanity arts department at Cheney. So this is a big deal. Like I'm in a position where I can heavily influence if these future bright Black students are going to want to continue to pursue their studies in this field, a field that clearly I studied in and graduated in and got my master's in. I am responsible and influencing their decision to do it. The last course I was working on was on the Black press, which was more of an elective course, which was great to create the syllabus and everything for. This course is a foundational course, so I'm coming into it with a level of, I gotta be, making sure they are writing and that they're really engaged, but also really making sure that I'm a role model and somebody that they can really, aspire to in the class and give them advice and give them great feedback. So I'm looking forward to being on this angle, and I'm working with freshmen. So freshmen will be a different energy than previous students who are like more seniors, that they kind of know what they're getting into. They've already declared their major. They're about to be out the door. It has a different vibe compared to freshmen where they're still impressionable. How I know? Because my brother is a freshman right now at Temple. And so it's interesting. Like I've been studying him. I've been asking, like he's finished his first semester. Like, hey, what kind of professors, are what is your energy with your professors and how do they make you feel about the course? And so the professor he's at Temple, he's majoring in criminal, justice. They're making him enthusiastic about continuing to do it. So I'm like, okay, that's how I need to be. And, I know how to teach, but I'm just thinking about that a lot coming into January. So that's exciting. Went to the holiday party, met faculty and staff there. Everybody is so excited about me. And it's funny because they all know about me and I haven't, it's interesting having to go and shake all the hands and tell everybody hi and hey, hello. Hey, what's up? Hello, and that's been fun. And just also understanding like the intensity of being of academia. Like, oh my goodness. Have you ever seen The Chair, which is on Netflix with Sandra Oh, who's incredible in it? That gave me a really good understanding about how the academic space worked with professors being tenured and what it means to be a department chair and all of that. I mean, not that I'm one, but I'm saying like understanding like the levels and the politics and the inner workings of academic settings is interesting and fascinating to study within itself. And it's cool because I'm coming in there kind of like, I don't want to say I've become an ACA celeb, but there's like culture of like, I don't want to, like, if you watch the show on Netflix and you know about David Duchovny's character, I don't want to tell it for people who haven't watched it, but yes, David Duchovny makes an appearance, but the way that he is written into it, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not that person in this dynamic. Watch the show. If you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, these episodes are quick. You could go through this in like, you could watch all the episodes and not lose the whole day. That's how quick they go. But it's a good show and it's fun and it's thoughtful. I don't know if it's come back for a second season, but what they did in the first season of it was pretty damn phenomenal. So I definitely would encourage people to check it out. But it just made me think about everything that's going on here. So, Omicron updates. It's taking over New York. New York City. If I was in New York City right now, I would be locking the door and staying the fuck in and tell everybody, love ya. Because what I've read or just the reports. I mean, they're getting numbers higher, cases higher than record numbers, I think, on Friday. Just numbers are just ridiculously out there. I mean, higher cases than what they were having before testing, like, were being done on a regular basis. I mean, the numbers are high. Omicron is making an impact. People are really, getting shook behind it. It's no joke. But what I will say, talking to people, I mean, cases have definitely went up in Philadelphia, but not on the New York level, of course. But the numbers are increasing, and people are noticing it. And so, people are starting to implement things. As you all know, the city is now going to institute this vaccination pass mandate in restaurants. And here come the restaurant people, some of them bickering and whining about it. And I'm just sitting there looking like, y'all were the type of people that probably said your business is going to shut down with the smoking ban. Because that's what it's giving me. It's giving me very much, oh my goodness, if you stop the smoking ban, people are going to not want to come to restaurants if you're going to tell them they can't smoke inside. Like, that's the energy I'm getting. But we're telling you, but smoking, secondhand smoking give people cancer. That doesn't matter. People should have a right to smoke inside. And that was a fight, right? But then we found out, and common sense found out, number one, restaurants did not die because of the smoking ban. Two, that was true. Cigarette was giving people emphysema and getting people fucked up. And secondhand smoke isn't fair to people who don't choose to smoke cigarettes. Not judging people that do, just saying that, like, come on. And to me, this is the same way I look at this situation right now with these vaccination passes. It's like, we know the science says that people who are unvaccinated are at a stronger risk of catching COVID, especially in public spaces where there is no way to regulate or control the output of the virus. So basically, we know there's a virus. You're in an area where there is large numbers of people getting sick or contracting COVID. How do you stop that? Because at this point, we know that vaccinations, not having vaccination mandates at events and spaces is fucking irresponsible and fucking reckless. And I think I'm at a point now where if I'm going to an event or a venue that does not regulate it, I'm pretty much probably not going to go now. I think that's where I'm at. I definitely have, kind of wiggled with that. But I think coming into 2022, if the event is not mandated and people are vaccinated in order to attend, I can't go. And I think I'm going to take that position more publicly very, very soon. But I cannot play that game. And I think that at this point, it's not responsible to not regulate it. Like, listen, I walk that talk. I am the president of an organization that mandated, a vaccination mandate back in July of this year. So before everybody was doing it, my organization, I was like, nah, we're doing this. If we're going to have a pool party, if we're going to have meetings in person, we need to do this. And we mandated that in July. I wasn't playing. And there wasn't that much pushback. There was some people who felt some type of way. But I said to myself, listen, I knew the science then as I know the science now. The science basically says that if you are fully vaccinated, you can still give COVID to other people. Now, let's be clear. You're not giving COVID, as rapid to those who are fully vaccinated in the same way that someone isn't. But at the end of the day, a person who's unvaccinated that gets COVID, the likelihood for them to die increases, hospitalized increases. It's fierce. With variants circulating around, we know that these variances are more lethal and more contagious, which means that do you want to get COVID from Omicron is going to fuck you up higher, most likely, than if you had the original COVID strand. You thought Delta was bad? Meet Omicron. Omicron is more contagious. It's spreading faster. And granted, people I know who have had breakthrough cases, they're telling me that they're not getting severely sick, those who are fully vaccinated. And I don't know anyone who was boosted that got Omicron. But I do know people who are fully vaccinated without, we're going to say fully vaccinated plus. So fully vaccinated plus, and this is me with lingo. I don't know anyone who's saying this, but fully vaccinated plus to me is you with the booster, right? So I'm fully vaccinated plus. I have the booster. Like my husband has the booster. My friends all got boosted. So that's fully vax plus. But there are people who are not fully vaxxed plus, right? Who just, who has gotten fully vaccinated back in maybe February or March, where that vaccine might be waning, right? And so they got COVID. And to be honest, they've gotten it, but I will say no one's severely sick. No one's being hospitalized. Some people said they got a little bit of chills. Some of them said they were a little under the weather, but it was nothing that was unlike getting the cold or something. They didn't get this major, oh my God, I'm so sick. Some of them took tests and were like, oh shit, I got COVID, but they were asymptomatic. So that's something. Now, let me tell you what I do for clarity for all of my people. I get vaccinated twice a week. And let me say that I'm not the person going to somebody's clinic taking up tests. I'm buying the test and getting my own test. I have a rule. I get vaccinated on Thursdays and I get tested on Thursdays and I get tested on Mondays. The way that my mindset works is that I get tested on Thursday to know before I go over the weekend. So if I go over the weekend and something occurs, when I get tested on Monday, I will know. It's my way of saying, oh shit, you know what? Before you went out, it must have happened over the weekend. Like I can trace my shit fast enough. Or I do Mondays because Monday is a way for me to, number one, check over what could have went down during the weekend or check what could have not been caught from Thursday situation. So it's like a weekly weekly cycle. And then if anything blows over from, let's say when the symptoms occurred, let's say Monday to Thursday point, by that Thursday, whatever was caught up, I would have had to update then. And then I can start my weekend another way. So I do twice a week. Again, this is expensive. Some people can't afford it. Listen, I ain't telling you what to do. All I'm saying is that for people who are political candidates, socialites, PR people, whatever, get tested once a week if you can afford it. But try to get tested weekly. I mean, there are free testing locations across the city. But I would say get tested on a regular basis, even if you don't know, even if you don't have or you don't feel symptoms. Get it anyway because it helps you be able to know what's going on so that you don't spread it somewhere else and yada, 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 yada. Because that's what I'm seeing that's happening. I've had people I know in the business, not even my close friends, but folks that's just acquaintances and people that go out and socialize that have said like they had to take 2 weeks off because, or a week off or whatever, because they were like, oh shit, I had COVID. But then the funny thing is, even though it's not funny in a sense, but a couple of days later, they got tested and it went down. So they may have been contagious or may have had it and didn't even know for a period of time. And then by the time they got tested, they found out they had it, but then it was already waning off. So then when they got tested like 2 or 3 days later, they found out they were negative. And yes, the rapid tests are weird. They can give you false positives. But if you get a positive test, then you need to go get a lab. And so I've seen that happen too. So I'm just telling people, like, even for my folks that are fully vaccinated, and I'm not talking about my fully vaccinated plus people, if you're going to be going out on a regular basis, just get tested just to be safe. It's nothing like being in a situation where you could get tested or whatever. I had a situation where a week ago, someone told me that they tested positive for COVID. But the thing was that I hadn't, wherever we met or saw each other at that event, we didn't even see each other. We hadn't seen each other for a whole week. But I had gotten tested on my regular routine that Monday. The event that we were at was on a Friday. So that Monday when we saw each other, or I'm not saw each other, but when they contacted me, I had already gotten tested. So I was negative. But then I waited a couple of days and then I took the test on Thursday because I kept doing my routine and I was still negative. So it's just like, it felt good. Well, it felt good to hear the news, but it was like, well, happy that I was doing this already because I wasn't like panicking versus If I hadn't been tested weekly, then I would have been like, oh shit, I gotta go. What do I do? I would have been, or I would have been more scared because I would have been still going out and doing things and not knowing my status. So I just think it's smart in general that if you're going to be going on a regular basis and you're really doing a lot of that, just getting tested on a routine basis so that you don't have to get the call from somebody else and you don't even know for yourself. So that's something that I have been really taking seriously, especially right now. But to be honest, I'm just thinking about a lot of events that's going on. Like I'm not going to Christmas Village. Not that I have an issue with Christmas Village. I think it's nice. I think it's cool. But I see so many people going there right now. And I'm just like, I don't know your status. Like, I don't mind going to events where I know it's just nothing but fully vaccinated people. But when I know that these are just general public places and spaces, and people are nasty. They are. You know how I know people are nasty? Because I haven't been to a public bathroom in I don't know how many months. I haven't been on public transportation in I don't know how many months. Let me just note my privilege in not being able to have to go on public transportation. But I just public bathrooms, I just can't. Because as a man, I'm talking for as a man, I'm going to tell you, nothing grinds my gears than seeing men go to the bathroom, don't wash their hands and walk out the fucking door. And it's nothing like being in a situation where you're, at a urinal and you're doing your thing and you can't even, the ability for a person to walk out, skip the washing to then go out the door, it's hard. I had a situation not too long ago, putting it out there, where I went to the bathroom on the urinal, and there was a server who went to the urinal, did their thing, did not wash their hands, and then walked out. I literally left. I left the restaurant. I left. I said, listen, I ain't a Karen, okay? I went to the manager. I said to him, I didn't report the person. I just said, there are people in this restaurant, in your restaurant, who are servers out here not washing their hands. And it's a pandemic. And I didn't tell them I didn't feel comfortable going. I just shared that to them. I said, I don't know if maybe y'all should just, I don't know, look at them and make them hand sanitize or so. It was awkward. But I didn't stay, is the point I'm getting at. Because that scared me. That was like, what would you have done? Maybe, fellas, I don't know what women be doing in the restroom. I'm not in women's restrooms. But I would imagine that it would just be uncomfortable to know someone went to the restroom, regardless of whatever they were doing, per se. But if you're in a restroom and you leave in and you don't wash your hands and you're in a restaurant, and somebody's going to probably ask me what restaurant it is, I'm not going to disclose that. But I will say that I'm reminded every time I want to consider a chain, even if it's a chain that's like a steakhouse, under any circumstances, I just cannot do chains. But this is not even a chain restaurant thing. I think it's just a male hygiene problem. A cishet male hygiene problem. I don't know. I just felt like when I saw that, I was just like, I cannot eat here. Because I just felt like there was a culture. Like, what made this man think that there are customers in this bathroom? You go in, you do what you do, and then you just walk out. No paper towel, no wash, no anything. Like, that is nasty. So I can only imagine in the largest city in America, New York City, with all these people trying to go to restaurants and all this restaurant pass shit. Listen, it's the holidays. It's already flu season. Y'all keep acting like flu season went away because of COVID. It's too much going on. Because even if you're not catching COVID, you can catch the flu still. Get your flu shots. I at this point, people who are not vaccinated at all, I don't understand. Like, if you're telling me you're still not vaccinated and it's still a dilemma for you, what is your litmus test, right, at this point? Haven't enough people have died before you decide to wake up and say, you know what, this is not for me. I need to get my ass up and get vaccinated. I don't know. I can't relate. But I just, no. Not at all. So, updates about the Jussie Smollett verdict. It's interesting, right? We're going to find out the sentencing in January. That is when they plan to decide Jussie's fate. As you all know, Jussie is still trying to hold on to this, in my opinion, lie, and still trying to convince people that this is some mass right-wing conspiracy. I have looked at the Coalition for Jussie Instagram page. They're still on there, trying to make these connections and connect these dots and put out this, I don't want to say propaganda, but just really put out this narrative that what's going on with Jussie is a target. And even Beyonce's mother has gotten involved. And it's just a lot, y'all. It's a lot. You know what I'm saying? To the point where there's some emotion. And it's a lot because everyone's making these equivalences, like, oh, there's a what about Kyle Rittenhouse who got away for free? Listen, let's stop comparing, especially where we don't compete. At the end of the day, the only way you can offer somebody help is if they acknowledge they have a problem. In this situation, the only way Jussie can receive help is he has to acknowledge he has a problem. Right now, he is still having illusions of grandeur about his career, himself, and the situation. And it's weird because a lot of people are projecting and trying to, diagnose opportunities and remedies for him without actually looking into the real reality of accountability. You can't say, what about this and what about this? You can't compare and contrast Jussie to these cases because at the end of the day, you're like someone said, well, he should have what Amy, I think that was Amy Cooper, who was the woman who was basically the inspiration behind the quote unquote Central Park Karen, right? There was this whole conversation about Amy Cooper. And there was an op-ed that came out that was comparing that to Jussie and all this and making these linkages. But in that situation, not that she deserves any remorse, but Amy Cooper had basically acknowledged that she did something wrong. And she acknowledged she helped. And so the judge treated her in that kind of way. In this situation, as of right now, Jussie Smollett does not want to acknowledge any guilt or wrongdoing for that hoax. Even though he's been convicted, he doesn't want to acknowledge that. So it's hard to tell a person you're going to give them psychological help or therapy and these things when they're still wrapped up in the illusion that they did nothing wrong, that they are completely innocent, and that everything that is trying to hold them accountable is a conspiracy. That's a hard thing to unpack. But the black juror, the one black juror who was a part of this jury that found Smollett guilty on 5 out of 6 of the counts, said that he knew the story wasn't sticking on his purview because he said he don't know any black man or black person, let me clarify, that will put a noose back on their fucking neck. And so when he saw that there was this whole thing with Jussie debating about the noose and putting it on and all that shit, he was like, what black person is going to put a noose back on their neck? I don't think police, well, I don't give a fuck what the police think, but I don't think any detective, investigator, anybody would have been like, oh, you took the noose off, you took the evidence off. Like, bruh, The evidence is there. Give them the fucking news. The DNA is there. Like, you ain't gotta keep it on. Like, what the fuck is keeping it on gonna do for you? If you said you had it on your neck and it didn't fall from the sky and you didn't pull out of anywhere, then you're gonna be fine, right? No need to put it back on. So that was just really weird to that black juror. That's the case they were making, that they didn't understand that that's when they knew something wasn't off, because they don't know any black person in this country that would put a noose back on their neck. I agree. I 100% agree. And I think as more and more of jurors are coming out individually telling their stories, and hearing from the black ones specifically, that was just a moment. They still don't understand why they did it. The jurors said they didn't really understand why they did the hoax. They said because they was a star. But they could say, what they did say is that they knew this situation was, they just could not find innocence in this. The motive is still unclear to them, but to them, the motive wasn't what drove them to acknowledge that this person did do this. And so I think that's where we're at. It's like, does finding the motive matter altogether? Probably not. I have an idea what I think the motive is, and stay tuned. But I think that that's a fair point, that sometimes you don't have to get inside a person's head to know exactly why they did something. You can think, but if you know there's enough evidence to prove guilt or wrongdoing, I think that's the valid point. I just don't think at this point there's any way that you can see Jussie being innocent. And I'm very disgusted by a lot of his enablers and his quote unquote friends. They're not his friends. These enablers, these people are not his friends. There are a lot of people who are involved in this for clout, for celebrity. They're trying to make aspects of certain movements, garner a certain type of relevance in ways that's not making any sense. There's a level of celebrityness involved in this, and celebrity privilege. And I'm disappointed. I just think more resources from particular groups, activist groups and organizations and organizers should go towards seeking justice for people who can't afford it and don't have thousands of dollars in resources, because this fight for this celebrity isn't going to be the same fight that's ever going to be given or extended, especially for a celebrity that might have been supporting a person who, is, it's just interesting what people go up for. And I think sometimes the cult of celebrity oftentimes is what kind of blurred the lines. So just gonna leave that on there. Joe Biden, I don't know what the fuck is up with Joe Biden. This student loans thing is just so sad. A lot of my friends who are really struggling in college, in student loan debt, they're going through it. They're going through it, Apparently, I think financial aid is going back for those who owe. It's going to start back up again in January. He's not extending. He's not extending any resources as far as doing anything to relieve debt, as far as giving money or canceling certain aspects or certain amounts. He's not really doing that for everyday Americans who owe. And a lot of people, including myself, said, this is going to cost him the midterms. But another friend of mine told me that pretty much they think that this is one of the things he's going to keep in his bag. It's the one card that he has that he doesn't want to waste. So from what I'm gathering is that it's safe to say that maybe Biden is already kind of expecting for a major midterm loss, and that he's going to take that L, but then push forward the next 2 years on really, 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 getting through some major punches. But I'm just trying to figure out, if we lose like the House, the Senate, and all these other things, how are we really going to, if we do lose the Senate and the House and all those things, right? How do we proceed with a president that's basically going to be in a position where he can't have a bully pulpit, with a Congress and the Senate? Like, if we lose those chambers, okay, executive orders, that's what we're talking about. Like, I don't get it. I don't know. I'm just not understanding the strategy here. But apparently Biden might pull out that card when he needs to, which is closer to the election. But I don't know. I think he should pull it out now just so he can keep some faith and hope alive. Because if you're driving people crazy, listen, the pandemic is already making people feel wary about travel and life. I mean, it's just so much. I'm hearing people feeling tested, and I'm scared a little bit. Well, not. Yeah, I'm a little scared, I guess, that folks will begin to forget how bad Trump was and think that going back to some of these ridiculous... Well, let me clarify. White people, I don't trust white people. And I'm concerned that there will be white people who might think that having Trump in office wasn't so bad. The way that some of you all thought that are now thinking George W. Bush wasn't that bad. So I've seen it. I've seen the flip-flop. And I'm concerned that because we got two old white men in the mix, that's where we're headed. There was some article entertaining. See, sometimes The Hill, y'all, if y'all read The Hill, the publication The Hill, they're like the shade room of politics, of political reporting, to a certain degree. They just be running all types of messy stuff. They were saying that there are people internally entertaining the thought of Hillary coming back in 2024. Listen, y'all need to leave Hillary Clinton alone. Hillary came in 08, 16, 24, like, y'all gotta stop. Isn't it interesting that Hillary comes every other 8 year? That's gonna be the pattern. She comes in 2024. It will technically be like every pattern. 8, 16, 24. What next? 32? Like 2032? Like, it's like every 8, we're supposed to expect a Hillary chance, another shot for Hillary. We gotta let it go, y'all. Don't make her run in 2024. First of all, she's getting up there. And it's not to be ageist. It's just that she's kind of separated herself out of public life in that way. I mean, she's doing master classes on resilience and shit. Like, she's crying and reading out what she would have said on election night if she would have had a victory. Like, let Hillary go. Let Hillary go, y'all. Y'all gotta let it go. This Is My Fight song, I can't hear that song again. Now, everything that Hillary told us, a lot of what Hillary said did happen. She did. She was right. She's doing her "I told y'all so" dance. Y'all should have voted for me, y'all stupid dance. She's somewhere rocking and rolling saying, "I told y'all he was going to destroy this country. Fuck y'all." And she drinking her a good old whiskey or something. She's chilling. She's not worried about us. Y'all need to leave her alone. Leave Hillary alone. And also, we got to get over this aristocratic system of politics in America. Like, we talk so much shit about the British and everybody else, and then we perpetuate the same patterns. Like, we love political dynasties and royal families in our own country. The Kennedys, the Clintons, the Reagans really didn't have much clout. The Bushes. Right, like everybody, there's some dynasties. We done passed some political torches around. The Cuomos, like everybody's getting a piece of political power. Like, the nepotism has to stop. We have to let it go. We just have to let it go. It's time. It's time. So on Tory, let me back up. Mr. Big, Chris Noth, Mr. Big. Okay, not to be confused with Mr. Big as in, Ronald Isley, Mr. Big, who, was a part of the Isley Brothers, Contagious. That Mr. Big. We ain't talking about Mr. Big with the B-I-G-G. We talking about Mr. Big as in Mr. B-I-G. The one who married, Carrie Bradshaw. The one who rode the Peloton bike and died. Which makes a lot of sense why, his character has been killed off. And the timing is interesting. So, if y'all don't know who Mr. Big is, Chris Noth, he was on Law and Order, and then was a big star on Law and Order the earlier seasons. Then became the big dude, Mr. Big, the big star on Sex and the City as Carrie Bradshaw's love interest, which is played by, of course, Sarah Jessica Parker. Well, this situation just gets crazy by the day. So as I'm right next to my lovely Peloton, which I have been riding and enjoying and doing my thing, I took a little break because it was the holidays. I just said, you know what? I need to take a little break, but I'm going to be back on it, January 1st, okay? But I've gotten some practice. Don't judge the girl. I just was like, if I'm going to be going back to these holiday parties, I don't need to be playing myself on this Peloton. So I am going to be back on the ride January 1st, and we're going to keep pedaling through. So my trusty, not dusty Peloton is right here next to me. Mr. Big. So let's back this up. So he was on the show, and just like that, which my bestie Jamarcus does not like. He does not like this show. He's not happy with it. He's a big Samantha fan and all of that. Well, Mr. Big gets on the Peloton bike and has some type of heart problem. He dies. This is the first episode of this new show, which is a spinoff from Sex and the City. Samantha's not participating. She's like, fuck Sarah Jessica Parker. Fuck them. I'm not doing it, okay? They say her character went off to Europe or some shit. But anyway, he dies. Everybody is shook. And everybody, including Peloton, is shook. As you all remember, Peloton lost some money. Their stock went down after this Peloton thing because people really thought that you could ride a Peloton bike and ride it to death. What a horrible way to write off a character. What a horrible way to do a story like this. But it was a lot. Well, Mr. Big comes back with a new lady in a new situation. Peloton calls him. They somehow get Ryan Reynolds' company, he has a production company who's doing a lot of different things, and him and Taylor Swift are besties, and he's also married to Blake Lively, and that's an interesting relationship. But he was also married to Scarlett Johansson many years before her, and that was interesting. But Scarlett Johansson's a problem, so good luck, good to him and Blake Lively making it work. But anyway, they're together, and they did this commercial that was a genius commercial. I mean, it's genius. It was like the biggest, like, oh my goodness, Peloton, stay fabulous. Well, they put up this ad, and it's Mr. Big, a new lady, and just like that, he's alive, and they talk about how he's alive, and whatever. He's, it was just an interesting ad. Well, after this becomes a big moment, right? A company pivoting and a cool way to get morale up and increase the stocks again, because capitalism, yay. There have been several women who've come forward. At this point, 3 women who have come forward immediately accusing him of sexual assault and abuse. And just like that, capitalism took a punch. So at this point, I'm like, God damn it. So Peloton takes the ads off of their social media. They take the ads off. They put out a statement, and it's like, God damn. Like, it's just like been a shit show. And, I had to hit up my people, and they were like, black people, let me clarify. They was like, listen, somebody I know said, they ain't the first time I heard about Mr. Big. Apparently, Beverly Johnson in 1995, the black supermodel who made history, who also had accused Bill Cosby of similar indecency, she accused him back in 1995, and that resurfaced. And just like that, we're reminded this man should have been canceled. He should have been canceled. Like, this is crazy. But, listen. The stories are piling up. They're coming out. It's a lot. I'm like, damn. Like, this new Sex in the City can't get a fucking break. And Chris Noth out here like, sir, listen. Not multiple. Not that one matters or one is less, but it's like, really? You're just out here a whole pig. And it's crazy because, I wonder what Samantha thinks, because
it's just, I just wonder as more stories unfold, who from the set gonna say something? Because everybody act like this man is such the best man ever. So I'm not saying who's gonna throw him under the bus, but you're on a show like Sex and City with all these women. I mean, it's just interesting, 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 and just like that, a moment in television history is now a moment in television blistery. Just saying. So on Tory Lanez, because I don't know. When Megan, the graduated from Texas Southern University, an HBCU, which by the way, has been saying that there's been a lot of enrollment and interest in TSU since her involvement. More people are going back to school who had dropped out of the program or whatever. They're coming back and re-enrolling. There's a new group of people that's just coming back because of, knowing that she wanted to complete her degree or she was completing her degree program. So there's a lot of excitement, and I'm happy to see that she's an ambassador in this way for an HBCU. It's been a really exciting year for HBCUs, in my opinion. I think that, look, even I'm in the mix, right? Like, I'm bringing some excitement at Cheney. I just hope this kind of spirit and energy continues, especially with Black creators and artists. And hopefully white people, listen, like Penn, I don't know if I'm going to ever donate to Penn, in the near future, because they got billions of dollars. They have a high endowment that is filled with billions. I would rather put my talent, energy, and as of right now into an HBCU like Cheney that has recently had issues with accreditation not too long ago, that have issues with getting funding and support. If I could lend my star power in a way to bring visibility and help people get more involved or know more about Cheney, that's what I'm gonna fucking do. And I encourage people to really think about that. Like, when we look at higher ed and education, supporting it, equity and preparing people for the future doesn't just start, once people work in the job field or in public school. It also starts in the colleges and environments that people are at. Says the man with an Ivy degree and a Big Ten school's master's. I know, but I'm doing something about it, right? I'm using this education or this value or this access I have to go to those places and make them better. Because too often people that look like me with the prestige I have are going to Ivies and giving Ivies all their talent and value. I want to give it to some place that will really utilize it and need it. I'm so excited to instill my learning and my skill set into Black kids that look like me, that need people like me. I can't tell you how many people have sent me letters already, alumni and people's parents and stuff, just saying that they never thought someone like me would be teaching their kid or teaching their younger sibling and whatnot. So this is cool to me, and I'm happy because when I was doing programs and stuff at other schools, that wasn't the type of responses I was getting. So I'm happy to be where I'm at. But I say all to say that just when Meg Thee Stallion is having a great moment and having some good news, no pun intended, here come this dust ball. So we find out, first of all, we find out several things. One is that this incident involving Meg Thee Stallion and this trash-ass Canadian rapper named Tory Lanez, who shot her in the foot last year during an incident that took place, that, that she did not stop cooperating with authorities. He is currently being still criminally charged for this. And new information has come out that he said dance bitch before he shot her. Yes, he said, quote, dance bitch when referring to her before he shot her. This short-ass, pint-sized man going after this woman. And it's just disgusting. And so, I posted something on social media about this and just said to all these people who was denying, and ignoring, this woman's story, not believing her, putting out false news and narratives and rumors and just misinformation across the board, and actually trying their hardest to believe this dust ball. It's just, they didn't have anything to say when everything came crashing down. So there's a lot. There's a lot to learn. And I just feel like at a certain extent, there's something to be said about how we as a group, okay? How we as a group, how we as a society, continue not to believe black women. It's just, but I'm just happy to know the trial is still going on. And I hope that what happens to this bastard happens soon and quickly. Because I'm so tired of just the internet weighing in. Social media was probably one of the most liberating inventions. But it also gave, I think someone said it best a couple of months ago. I remember someone said the worst thing that we thought was that everybody should have a voice that we should hear at all times of the day. So true. I don't think I really want to I want to hear everyone's fucking opinion all day, every day. I think there was something to be said for being in a world where people had some of their opinions to themselves. I don't know if we were ever meant to know what everyone was thinking at all times of the day. I don't think it was a good idea. I wrestled with it because I benefited from it. It's a complicated situation. But if you ask me for all mankind and humanity, I don't think it was a good idea for us to have this much access to people's thoughts, everybody's thoughts so much. I don't know. I don't know. Because it's done things to people, right? Character, ego, behavior. Like it's done a lot. And sometimes I'm just I'm on Twitter, sometimes on Facebook, like, why the fuck? Who asked you? And it's like, oh, that's right. Facebook asked him. Facebook asked him, what's on your mind? And it's like, fuck, that's right. They did ask him that. Or Twitter is telling people, what are your thoughts about this? It's like, oh, fuck, we did ask for people's thoughts. God damn it. That's how I feel about this. I'm so conflicted and I'm so annoyed and frustrated with it sometimes, and yeah. So let's get to a speedy ass trial. Let's just get to the bottom of it. I'm all about abolishing the police, but fuck this man. So I've talked about this on my Facebook and people were talking about it, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I've had many conversations. But straight men are so fucking weird. I just have to say that. And I'm not going to put no disclaimer. No, listen, if you don't think you're weird, then chances are you're probably weird. I don't know. Just get out your feelings, straight men, for a couple of minutes. Straight men are so weird. Like, I don't know how to put it any other way. Cishet men, cisgender, heterosexual men, straight men are weird. And what I mean by that is that, you all have lived in this world where you all have had most of the power and attention and the privilege. And so many of you all have been so used to being fixated on what the fuck everybody else is doing. Queer people, trans people, women, everybody else, right? That no one has taken time to look at your ass and see what the fuck is wrong with you. And why are you doing the things you're doing oddly and weirdly? And why haven't anyone unpacked it? So much energy has been on giving women and people therapy for recovering from the harm that men do. Like, everyone's talking about men in this very, active language. And mind you, that makes sense to a certain degree. But I just want to take a moment to just really turn the microscope and the flashlight onto straight men and figure out what is wrong with you. What is wrong with you? What's going on? Why are you so weird? Why do you do weird shit? Especially to people who are trying to just live their lives and do their own thing. I'm not even talking about like homophobia and sexism and misogyny. Like, that shit ain't even weird. That shit is fucking problematic, right? Let's be clear. Weird and problematic are not the same thing, but just they can be, but not in this situation. I'm talking about just the utter weirdness of straight men. So I had a situation recently, several things. This is just random and weird. And I don't know. So this guy who he's straight as far as I know. I don't talk to him often. I mean, we see each other like a few occasions, but he has my number and things. out of the blue, he texts me and he's like, asked about a restaurant and was like, "Oh, do you eat seafood mac and cheese at this place or something like that?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he was like, and mind you, it was like late at night, and I was like, "Okay." I mean, I don't know him and like that, it's just. Mm. So he texts me, and again, I'm not suggesting that it was anything suggested. Let me clarify that because you straight men, right? Oh, or let me say how y'all say it sometimes. No homo. But he basically texted me, and I was like, "Yeah, I eat seafood mac and cheese like the next Hungry John." So he's texting me, and he says, "Please tell my girl it's delicious." But I'm like, "Who's your girl? I don't even know who your girl is. Where is she? What's going on?" And I said, "You don't like it?" Like, he said to me, he looks at me like he asked me, "Do I not like it?" And he sends me a meme. And I said, "I do like it," but I said, "I'm so confused." And then he says, "She doesn't want it. I'm trying to order." And I'm like, LOL. I don't understand what's going on. We haven't talked in forever. I don't understand. I don't even know who his girl is. It's weird. So that's a moment. But I have had many weird encounters. I remember, not even remember, a recent one where this guy was, he was just talking to me, and he was just really nice and passionate, and then he comes out and says in conversations, is you're so dope, you do good work, I love you, and then he pauses and says, I love you as in the work that you do. And I'm like, okay. And it's like, how you see a Curb Your Enthusiasm, how the camera like zooms in on your face, or that moment where there's that thing, kind of like the way like Tom and cousin Greg is on Succession, except I'm cousin Greg. I'm not Tom in that dynamic. I'm just like, okay, all right. I wasn't feeling the type of way, but like the clarity that also straight men again strike. The weirdness of like straight men feel like they have to in conversations with maybe one gay man in the room or two, where they have to double down on declaring they're straight, but trying to make it sound casual. For example, okay, let's say you meet said man who is straight. You know he's straight. He's already told you he's straight when you met him first time. But constant times of conversation. As a straight man, I believe, I'm straight, so, I mean, I never dated, I never dated guys before, but as a straight man, every time in conversations, or have to make that reference known. Why? I don't want you. Neither does my friend. It's the weirdest shit ever. And I'm just like, bruh, we know. It's okay. I had a moment one time where I broke out of character. One time. Because it was just too awkward. And I don't know why I did, but I just was in the zone. I think it was a social, it was a networking, and I was really feeling, and listen, my bestie, when we go out, I'll show my ass a couple of times. Not literally, but, no homo. But like I will show my ass sometimes. I'll cut up if I'm drinking, and I'll get real, funny and spicy. So in conversation, this guy was talking. He just said, as a straight man, and this and that. Just kept saying it, and I said, and how do you feel as a straight man? And everybody cracked up because everyone got the joke, and he had a smile on his face. Like, good one. I'm like, no, seriously, as a straight man, how do you feel about that? Because, as a straight man, you feel, so as a straight man, how do you feel about that? And he just laughed and felt stupid. But I wanted to show his stupidity back at him. That was one time. Okay, so there was a second time. And I remember this because I was at Del Frisco's. Yes. When the happy hours used to be raving on a Thursday. Before the men would go down the shore and cheat on their wives. As a straight man. it was summer many years ago, and there was this dude who said he wanted to tell us like he said to me, he's like, you're cool, you cool for being who you are, and I was like, what is he talking about? Like, I was looking confused. He's like, well, as a straight man, I don't, I never meet too many people like you. I'm like me? What are you saying? He's like, that get down like you. Get down? Where do I get down? I'm not on my knees. He just wouldn't say the word gay, right? So I said to him, I just want you to know that you can say I'm gay. Gay is not a bad word. Oh no, I didn't mean no harm. No, I said, oh no, you didn't mean any harm and offense. I'm just telling you, gay is not a bad word. You don't have to say gay, and you don't have to tell me you're straight. It's okay. I have a man. I've been with him for a couple of years. I got a man. Like, we date, we go together. We're like together. Like, we sleep in the same bed together. Like the way you was talking about how you and your girl get it in, right? Like, yeah, I have a guy. We get it in, and yeah, he was pissed off. He was pissed, but he didn't say he was pissed off. Respectfully. But no, sometimes, I just have to say this. Sometimes you could be in a situation where you just have to let people understand, like, your discomfort with yourself, whatever that is that's going on, like, stop it. And I feel like we got to make jokes. I need to call my friends up. We need to make I don't know, the challenge, like the straight man challenge. Like, I don't know what we got to do, but there has got to be a way we got to mock this on social media. I don't have a TikTok, but shit, we could do something because it's silly. It's the silliest shit. And everybody's doing it. And they're saying that they're not doing it. And I'm just like, you're doing it. And it's weird. And listen, I wish that I would have a straight man that isn't, well, I would like to let me put some parameters on this. I would like to be in a situation where I could say I don't live in a situation where straight men live rent free in my mind in a way where their sexuality and how they do what they do in their own world lives rent free in my mind, the same way that how I live my life and how my sexuality and how I have sex lives rent free in a lot of straight men's minds. I hope that makes sense. Basically, what I'm saying is I could give a fuck less what straight men are doing in their lives, quite frankly, if it's not directly impacting my life financially, socially, or physically. Like, I just don't understand. Translation environmentally, right? It's just, I don't care, but for some reason there are men who literally are somewhere like Boosie, right? Little Boosie or Boosie badass, depending on if you're nasty. That he's probably somewhere up at night thinking about, well, literally at one time he woke up in the morning, like in the wee hours of the night, talking about what Lil Nas X was probably doing to some security guard in his head. It was a concept. It was a theory in his head what he thought Lil Nas X was doing. I just wonder how many men are like that, because they're like thinking about those things. Like, you're thinking about me. Oh, you shouldn't have. And I just see a lot of that taking place in different subtle ways, whether it's in barbershops, other events, networks. But the funniest stuff is when you get, I was taking a long ride from Cheney to my house, which, Cheney University is not in Philadelphia. It's like on the outskirts, but it's like a 45-minute drive, depending on traffic or whatever. It's like about 45 minutes. So whenever I took a long route with a Uber driver who picked me up. It was this guy, straight guy, driving. And, he just was really social. I was like, oh my God, this man's going to talk to me the entire ride. I guess he wanted to make conversation. I just know that this is going to be my experience as a professor for the next several months, because I'm going to be in Cheney going in person. And it's going to be really interesting the next several months doing Cheney like that. It's going to be interesting. So this guy, he's like talking to me, and he's like, oh, what did he say? Because he was just like, oh, we were just talking. So conversation, initially he's like, what you do at Cheney, that kind of stuff. Then he gets into a conversation about, somehow, I don't know how he found into this conversation. Oh, Jesus, what do you do? And so it's interesting. I recognize that I have to be a little bit more vague, because, I'm just no longer going to say I'm a journalist in the car, unless, I don't know. I just have to not. I fell for the trap. Because when you disclose which at least for me, when I disclose what I do, then all of a sudden it becomes a conversation about what do you think about this and this, and they want to talk about the news. I mean, I was down, but then I wasn't until it got like the Dave Chappelle thing. So I was like, oh, well, of course he brings up Dave Chappelle, and I'm just like, oh, I don't really want to talk about. Well, I was like, well, he's a mess, and I don't really agree with his humor, And he's like, well, why? Why? And I was like, well, I'm queer, blah blah blah. Queer. Well, let me ask you something. You don't mind if I ask, why you say queer? And I was like, oh, see, there it go. Here it comes. We was a 5-star rating. Now we get it to a 3. But it was weird because he starts off, so he says, oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah. One of my cousins, he lives, he's in the light. He said in the light. He didn't say life, so he said in the light. Anybody that's black know that slogan, that in the light. That's such an old school way of saying someone's gay without saying they're gay. It was anyway. I don't even know what that means. Well, I know what it means. I was just like, wow, I've never heard that in years. So he says this, and he goes into this thing. But he says, as a straight man, of course, I just learn, judge not. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. And then, of course, throughout the conversation, from his time on, it was like every interjection he could of his straightness in some type of way. And I said, he's gotten uncomfortable. There is a member of the Rainbow Coalition in the back of his car, and he wants to continue to project his straightness because, Lord and behold, somehow he thinks my magical rainbow hands is going to reach out and touch somebody's hand, his hand, and he thinks that he's going to turn gay because I guess they think we have the gay touch, not the Midas touch, the gay touch. Lo and behold. And it was such an interesting turn. The moment that conversation went there, in the midst, everything changed about the conversation. It just was interesting how it went. It's a tragedy, which is why I say straight men are fucking weird. Weird. I ask your friends. It's just, I can't tell you how many times it happens, but it's weird. And sometimes, I'm so wrapped up in whatever I got going on that I can't, I don't feel like always having the energy to call it out or just, whatever, poke at it. But let me just say that if I catch anybody doing as a straight man when I already know that they're when I already know that they're straight, they already know I know they're straight. The clarity doesn't matter. What are you saying? I'm gonna start fucking with people and calling that shit out. Y'all gonna make me, snap. And people say weird is fun. Well, not how I put it, okay? Weird is bizarre, awkward. It's not weird as in fun. So, to the white guys out there who think weird means fun, when black people say something is weird, it's not a compliment. It's not. When black people say it's weird, that's our way of saying, child, please. So, to a woman who's been telling us that straight men were weird for a long time, who has passed away, and she's going to be forever missed, is Bell Hooks. Let me just say this real quick. Bell Hooks, a lot of folks out here has been seeing Bell Hooks' name with lowercase letters. If you read Bell Hooks often, and maybe you don't, or you don't see her enough in the current canon of literature and writing, you know that Bell is very intentional on having the B lowercase and the H lowercase. That was an artistic decision, a creative decision. It was her way of fighting against the capitalism and the American English and everything that came with that. And it was a statement. And it was power in how she wanted to define her name. So when you saw Bell Hooks' name lowercase in the caption of this podcast episode, that was intentional. It wasn't a grammatical error. That wasn't a, mishap or whatever. That was intentional. So, as someone put it, you capitalize the B in black, you lowercase the B in Bell for Bell Hooks. So, just wanted to say that. she's passed away, and I don't words can't describe it. It's just I'm lost for words. Like I know people, Toni Morrison was an icon, of course, and when she passed, it was sad. And the day that she passed away was the day I got to interview Oprah. So I'll never forget that August in 2019. But the person that really inspired my understanding of feminism and of race, and that connection of feminism is Bell Hooks. I talk a lot about Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw because her theoretical academic approach definitely shaped my understanding through critical race theory. Again, things, as you all know, I talk about way before critical race theory was a topic on everybody's mind. But Bell Hooks really is the foundational. Like anybody you talk to who talks about feminism and does not mention Bell Hooks or any books by Bell Hooks, you should never trust them. You should never cite them. You should read them. There's a bunch of white feminists that are now like being like, oh, I have to read more from Bell Hooks, and I'm like, what? And I'm talking about there's a young white woman who was in a fellowship I was in. I'm talking specifically about her because there's other people who told me they want to read more about Bell Hooks, and I want to be clear. I'm talking. More people should read more about her, but there is a specific white feminist who was in a fellowship I was connected to many years ago, and she was always like the commercial, like female empowerment, and anytime someone disagreed with her, it was because she was a woman or everything. She always was the most like, how do I describe it? She was just the most shallow white feminist I probably ever met in my life as a person. And because for starters, she was someone who will walk in a room and she will be the one to call out gender disparities as it applied to white women, but she never saw race. And she was always antagonizing like black men specifically on topics of sexism, but she would never acknowledge the whiteness of her surroundings or her lack of knowledge. So you can see a picture, right? And you can see a diverse group that may have 10 men and 2 women, let's say. And she would probably be like, where are the men? Where are the women here? Which is a fair question, right? No taking of that. But when thinking about the women, right? In a room where there's diverse men, if you was to ask her, well, what women should be here? The women that will come out of her mouth would be white women. So as one conversation is being had about gender disparity, she's not intersectional at all in her thoughts about it. And that's the kind of white woman she was. And so it was interesting because when I looked at my timeline, she started saying like all this about like, oh, I this Bell Hooks is iconic. I need to read her. I need to read some of her books. And she starts to read her books this week and starts to quote her and things. I'm just like, so you spent these entire years being for Hillary and being hype about feminism and all this talk and Beyonce, right? Like loving on Beyonce, right? Because, oh, Beyonce said to define feminism in her song, Flawless. So that's the closest you have to thinking about black women and feminism, or Kamala Harris because she's the first woman VP. So that's the only acknowledgement of black women and feminism you think of in these powerful positions of wealth or capital, right? They're either billionaires or vice presidents, but you never thought to read or do deep dive into Bell Hooks. Fuck out of here. But that's the thing I've realized in my understanding of feminism and studying it and being better as a man and understanding it, is just like, I got to go to the source of reason. And Bell Hooks was that foundation for me. She was the foundation to how I understood it as a black man, but understood black women's issues and how it needs to be amplified. And specifically on the working class as well. Bell Hooks made feminism more accessible to a larger mass of people. Okay, even though she had all of this academic understanding, her books, the way that she talked about these issues were very much accessible to people who don't understand it. And so when I meet a lot of brothers and men, other men who say or are so hell bent on being anti feminist and all that, because they feel like it's something that's white women led or white women made or projected by a certain type of elite educated group of women, I always say you should read this book by Bell Hooks. Any book by Bell. People say, what book do you recommend by Bell Hooks? Quite fucking frankly, any of them. And honestly, I would say the earlier ones because they lay the foundation, but any book by Bell Hooks on education, on learning, I mean, she just had a wealth of knowledge. Read any of them. Any of them. Seriously, any of them. I don't have one that is better than other. I think she has a lot. And if you want to know, ask a black woman what is their favorite Bell Hooks book in academia. Because who am I to say which is better? I can't choose. But what I can say is that her books are worth reading. And I think that any of the books are worth consideration. So if you really want to understand how feminism works in a black woman context, to understand that better and how to be better people, read Bell Hooks, because she makes it more accessible and digestible for anyone to understand it. And that's how I got better. Like when I went to college and I, learned a lot about her, that's how I started. So read Bell Hooks and rest in paradise, Queen, because she's awesome. So as we begin to wrap up, there's only one show I want to talk about this week, and that is Succession. Succession. The finale, oh my God. First of all, if you haven't seen it, the finale yet, I'm sorry. Listen, Tom and Greg, cousin Greg and Tom, okay? They're killing it. They're killing the show. In a good way. I'm saying this as they had me shook. That finale was everything. And Shiv had me in shivers. Get it? Shivers. But what happened to Shiv in that situation, honey, let me tell you something that I learned a long time ago. If you don't tend to your man, he gonna tend to your bag. You should have been focused on your relationship and your marriage, the way he was just treating him like a little bag that you can just push around. He said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get mad. I'm going to get even. And he settled the score on that finale. Okay? And also, people complain about Succession at this point. They said, when are these white people going to pay? Well, they paid this finale. But it's also realistic to a certain degree, because it's like, listen, as much as you hate this white man, as much as you hate, everything that he represents, he is the boss. He is the boss. And he's going to stay in power. Okay? He's going to stay in power. No matter how much everybody wants to hate on the family, it's rich white people in power are going to do it. Logan Roy is going to always be somewhat in power. Now, Kendall Roy, another story. Just Jeremy Strong, let me just say this. Jeremy Strong is playing the fuck out of the character, but Kendall Roy, Kendall, his character started off literally high, but started off on a high, boss ass shit the beginning of the season, and then literally crumbles and weakens by the end. He cannot take on Logan. Logan is an old school type of rich white man that birthed him. The son is not going to take over the father. He's not going to beat him at his own game. And that's what he proved. And it was real as fuck. And so I really enjoyed it. I mean, honestly, I'm at a point where is season 4? I need season 4 yesterday. I need season 4 in my life. I need it now. Succession was everything, y'all. I love the show. I'm going to say this. I can't name the name, and I know some of y'all might be messy. But what to do when you get it? Okay, I'm just going to say this. I am going to a seafood restaurant in a certain gentrified part of Philadelphia. I am not saying the name because I have not been there to have it. But I'm going to go, and I'm going to tell you all about it next week. I've heard some interesting things about the place. I will say it's a seafood place. I'm I'm going because I want to see for myself, but I'm not hearing good things. And I want to go and I want to be proven wrong, but I'm scared, y'all, because the reviews have been coming in and it's not been good. And I think I know why, but I don't want to put it out there until I actually go and have the experience. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that. And that's going to be that. All right. And then wrapping up everything, I just want to say this. You all have been asking me about this cool, super dope thing I am a part of, or experience I'm a part of. So this week I announced that I am in partnership with United Way to work on this incredible project that they have and this initiative taking place in Philadelphia called The Promise. And The Promise is this incredibly dope initiative that is going to work to raise 100,000 people out of poverty in the next 5 years. They're doing tons of work to provide job opportunities, growth, housing support, and everything to really address the poverty issue in Philadelphia. They have millions of dollars, and I am a paid partner with this initiative. I have done already some initiatives to spread the word and get the word out about this, and I am using my platform in this regard to let more of you all know. Go to wethepromise.org. Check it out, sign the pledge, learn more about The Promise. And there's also on the website opportunities for organizations that are 501c3 in Philadelphia that are doing community work, that's doing, active work in communities to address different issues, systemic issues. There is tons of money and thousands of dollars that are giving out right now in grants to give you all the resources to go out there and do your thing. The applications are not complicated or wonky or very intense. They're very readable, accessible for any organization to fill out. You don't have to have a grant writer. You don't have to have any fancy person. The way that it's written out is done in a way that is easy for any nonprofit leader or someone to fill out and do to get this money and to go out in the community and do the work. It's a lot. It's lofty. It's ambitious. It's an ambitious program. They do have some city resources, but they're really working in their own independence to collaborate with different funders and groups that are supporting this. And I'm excited about it. I'm really excited. I've been talking about poverty throughout this entire season, how it's connected to gun violence in Philadelphia. And I'm really excited to see that there is an organization that is really putting their money where their mouth is to really address this issue with some tangible goals, specific numbers, and various means to address the issue. So when I got the call from them to be a part of this and to get the word out and to be in the mix of this, I was like, wow, you all, first of all, clearly y'all are serious about it, because typically people like me don't ever get invited to be a part of projects like this as they begin to launch. Normally what happens is groups will do this and then they'll give a report years later, and then people like me see it and be like, where the hell is myself and others or other people that can help make this better? We're always the afterthought. So this is them being proactive and getting as many people involved. So go to wethepromise.org or thepromisephl.org. Either way, check out the website, check out the information, sign the pledge at wethepromise.org. Check out the website, thepromisephl.org. If you're friends with me on all of my social media accounts, but if you're specifically friends with me on Instagram, if you go to my link in bio on Linktree, you will see there's a section that says sign the pledge. And you can sign the pledge. And you can also check out opportunities for the RFP and everything else that they're asking for to be a part of this great endeavor. So yeah, check out The Promise, do your thing, spread the word, let people know. If you maybe you don't have a 501c3, but you know someone else who do that could use this type of money and its opportunities, check out that website, start connecting people. The work is out there. You'll see more work from me. I just did a dope Instagram live that is on my grid on Instagram, where I talked to Mike Banks, who's a good friend of mine, who went to my wedding. We've known each other since Penn. We've known each other for years, actually. He is at United Way. He works for them, has a really great position, and he is also going to be really doing a lot of work with The Promise. And we had a really great conversation about this initiative on Instagram, so you can hear our discussion and talk more about the issues and solutions. So super excited about that. Getting ready for the holiday season. I got some Christmas shopping to do. I'm still getting everything together, my ducks in order, getting ready for this catering, getting ready to see my friends, for Christmas, and gearing up for that season finale, episode 50, which is next week, the finale of season 1. And then after that, we'll see each other soon. So until then, be best.
Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.